Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Material Issues. This is episode number 79. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records, and jumping right into the screen, my very good friend of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, and currently located somewhere in Brooklyn, New York, post IPO New York, Mr. David Bash.
Hey,
David, how you
Mark.
feeling today, my friend?
Well, I'm feeling a little bit better. The last few days I've had, well, let me phrase it this way. I took a COVID test a couple of days ago. It was negative. I'm going to take one again tonight. But I've had a fever and a bad cough. But sometimes a fever and a bad cough are just a fever and a bad cough. And I get them every now and then where I have infected congestion. I won't get any more graphic than that. And you just have to wait for the congestion to when you can expel it from your body.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I've had that many times. So I suspect it's that. My fever is down to 99.5 now from a high of 101. So I'm getting there. But
Well,
if I
yeah.
laugh, I may start coughing again. So please, everyone, forgive me if I do cough or even in the middle of a story. Flu is so bad right now. Well, I didn't have a cold, fortunately.
Well, the good thing
Not
is, is,
really.
is uh, that bad rash you had in the nether regions has finally cleared up, and the pain that you've had,
Yeah. That's what I
that.
tell everyone anyway. Um, so yeah, so next tomorrow, barring COVID test, positive COVID test, I will be flying into Toronto and then taking a bus down to Hamilton. And IPO Hamilton will begin tomorrow night through Saturday at the Casbah. We got in at the last minute somebody who I was really hoping to have on the bill, Bill Majoros of the band The Foreign Films.
Oh yeah.
He's great, and he had been injured, and he didn't want to commit until he was sure. Oh, sorry, whoever is saying that. I didn't want to. I didn't. He didn't want to commit until he was sure he'd be able to do it, and finally, just this morning, he committed.
Nice.
So I had thanks to Steve Stanley for changing the poster, putting him in there, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And Record Store Day Canada, which hopefully means I'll find some stuff up there that isn't being released in the States. That's always fun. So I'll be doing some record shopping, and
Is
then
there?
Sunday I fly back to LA, but I have to make a 4-hour stop at Edmonton Airport.
Wow.
So hopefully there's a lot of really good Wayne Gretzky memorabilia there because it'll give me something to do anyway. I figured there's got to be.
Hey, Brian in
Hey,
Denver.
Brian.
Thanks for the good words. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Is
speaking of Thanksgiving, and this is the somber story. Sometimes people ask me, like, why are you going up to Canada to do IPO on Thanksgiving? Well, there's two reasons. One is they don't celebrate their Thanksgiving in November; they celebrate it in October. So for them, that's just any other Thursday through Sunday. Uh, but the second reason is more personal. Um, Thank you, Robin.
Hey, Robin.
On Thanksgiving Day, 1984, my mom had a heart attack. She was devoid of oxygen for 15 minutes, never meaningfully recovered her cognitive abilities, basically was in a vegetative state for 2.5 years, and then passed in May of 87. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean that I have any animosity towards Thanksgiving. I know that obviously it wasn't because of Thanksgiving that this happened. And I'm happy to celebrate Thanksgiving if I'm home and, somebody wants to invite me or if Rena feels like doing it. But, otherwise I can do without it. And at least I figure if I'm going to do without it, let me be somewhere where I'm going to have a good time. Thank you. And not have to think about all that stuff.
But you know what? Doing something that you love and something that you're thankful and grateful for on Thanksgiving, which is an IPO event, that's your own personal Thanksgiving. It doesn't mean you have to be
Yeah.
around other people with turkey and all the trimmings. So that's your own Thanksgiving. So we're thankful for all kinds of little things,
Yeah,
and that's great.
I'll see if the restaurant I like near the club. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll see if the restaurant I like near the club has like a turkey burger. Maybe I'll have that. But
I always end up at the diner for whenever they got their turkey special. But tomorrow I'm actually working the restaurant,
oh wow,
which will have all turkey and everything. So I'll have access to all kinds of stuff, and I'll be singing and making people get together happy. And I'm thankful for the ability to do that. And I'm thankful for having spent today with my two daughters that drove up from Florida with their doggies. Spend Thanksgiving up here. So I spent the day with them, took them and their good friend they brought with them to Philadelphia. We did the Pat's and Gino's cheesesteak challenge, which one was better. We walked all through the Italian market. We got cheeses at DeBruno Brothers. We got cannolis at Termini Brothers. And we went down and saw the Liberty Bell because her friend had never been to Philadelphia. So we had I'm wonderfully thankful for the day today and the time spent with my daughters. And I got the Crokinole shirt, and this is my design. Came in third place in the Crokinole contest for Brown Castle Games, all things Crokinole, but like the Budweiser ad, Crokinole. Thank you.
I like it.
So
That's beautiful. Congrats on third place.
third
Why
place.
you should have done the design in bronze? Then you would have been great video.
Hey Andy, how you doing?
Oh, hey Andy, how are you?
But yeah, so I get it, man. Holidays are always tough for me now that, of course, my mom is gone and my daughters have moved away. But they come up here, they won't be back for the Christmas holidays. But it's the little things. It's the little things we're all grateful for, and I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for the fact that we do this show and we have a lot of great guests, including the one coming up tonight, also a very good friend of ours. So we're happy for every day, and I hope everybody out there, even for the little things, if you don't have people to celebrate with or you don't feel like it, just smile over something small and be grateful that we got each other. We're always here together. So cheers.
Yeah, that's well said. Now I'll just say some of the things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for, of course, my wonderful wife Rena, without whom I wouldn't be half the man I am, which may or may not be a blessing. I don't know, but and of course, I'm thankful for all of my great friends like you and our upcoming guest, who has been very hospitable to me while I've stayed at his home. And I'm certainly thankful for IPO and for every band who plays it, every venue who hosts it, every person who comes to see it. It's I can't think of anything else I would want to do in my life. I just feel blessed that the opportunity came along right at the time when I was able to avail myself of it. So I'm thankful for all those things. Of course, I'm thankful for record shopping and finding great stuff. Excuse me. And I'm sure there's other things I'm grateful for. Well, my family too, of course.
Yeah, indeed.
My guess is my brother Joel will be listening at some point. Joel, I love you. I'm very grateful for you. Like that.
Yeah.
So
This picture I wanted to pop up real quick, David, before we introduce our guest. But that's from today.
oh,
That's myself, my daughter Hannah in the middle, my daughter Leah on the right. We were near the Liberty Bell. We took that picture. So that's from my
beautiful.
girls. Love you, girls. Yeah.
Beautiful. Let me tell you one other quick story that's kind of amusing. And I know at first this may sound a little creepy, but I don't mean it to be, and it wasn't. It was 1,000,000% innocent, but it wasn't perceived that way. And I guess guys our age probably get this every now and then, or men in general get this, a complete misunderstanding. The final night of IPO Boston, I was I was up in the area watching the band, and I saw these three people, two women and one man, and suddenly two of the women, the man and one of the women went outside, leaving one woman there. So I went up to her and I chatted with her, and it was a nice chat. She was telling her about IPO, and she was asking me questions, and it was all good. And then the man and the other woman came back, and I noticed that the man started putting his arm around the woman I'd spoken with. So I figured, well, he probably wouldn't think it was cool if I kept talking to her. So I'll move on to the other one. So I started talking with her, and she was really flirty, I have to say. She had a few, granted, but she was being very flirty and smiley. And, I said, you have a nice smile. She said, so do you. And it's like, I don't usually get that, but nothing was going to go anywhere. I'm not that kind of man. But I took out some Tic Tacs because my mouth was getting dry, and nice. I think this was the exact pack, actually.
we have it. It's in police custody.
So I took out some Tic Tacs, and the woman I was speaking with noticed that I had them, and I figured, well, I better not be rude. So I said, would you like a Tic Tac? She said, sure. So I gave her a Tic Tac, and I think just at the moment when the Tic Tac went into her hand, and I may have at this point put the pack back towards my pocket, the other woman who I'd been speaking with first saw that, and she had this huge frown on her face. And I kind of just waved at her like, it's nothing. But my first thought was, well, maybe she thinks I'm doing it because I want to kiss the girl, which wasn't true. But then it occurred to me, wait, the other detail is, so right around this time, I have to go on stage to give it up for a band. As I do that, the second I'm up there, the three of them bolt out of there. And then it occurred to me, that woman thought I was trying to roofie this girl. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm just giving her a Tic Tac. Ladies, we're not all bad. We're not all drunk.
It's like the design right there.
Maybe the Tic Tac Corporation will see this. They'll hire me as a spokesperson saying, it's a fresh mint. It's not a roofie.
It's just a Tic Tac.
But maybe a girl will kiss you if you give her one. No, I mean, it's so frustrating. And if any women are listening to this, I know I do feel for you. I know that you get hit on by creeps a lot. There are a lot of creepy guys out there, and it's not fair that you have to deal with any of this. Yeah, I find it funny now too, but at the time I was a bit bewildered, and I was very taken aback. It's like, wow, you can't do anything nice for anybody without it being misconstrued as some heinous thing. And just for the record, if I have to roofie a woman to get her into bed, I'm not even going to bother.
You're done.
She doesn't want me without the roofie. I have no interest. Not that I'm interested in any other women but my wife. Anyway,
my problem is I always roofie myself and fall asleep, and I wake up, the bar's already closed.
See, I was born creepy.
It's a
Can't it's 2 minutes on one. Okay. Yeah. Actually, funny enough that you should mention that, whoever it was. When I was growing up in upstate New York, one of my best friends' dad, actually, he was a slogan person. And he came up with the Certs 2 minutes in one slogan.
Wow.
Yeah. That's funny enough, all this minutia out there. Well, enough of that, because we have a guest.
Enough minutia.
We have a guest, and as I mentioned, he well, first of all, he's a good friend, has been for a while. Secondly, he's been hospitable enough to let me stay at his home for the past few days in between IPOs, and not just in between New York and Boston, but in between Boston and Hamilton as well. He's been great company, and I have to admit, since I've been ill, I've been a little bit of a nudge, but not too bad. But he's gone out and He made me chicken soup. He went out and got some stuff for me. That was really nice. So he went above and beyond. But beyond that, he's friends with a lot of our listeners, and he has. Speaking of listeners, he like our last week's guest, Malcolm Bondon. He too is a radio programmer, but he programs his own station and he DJs. He hosts his own show, Radio New York International, on every other Sunday. So I figured, look, we're here. He should be a guest. He's very entertaining. So why the hell not? Would you please give a huge material issues welcome to Dave the Boogieman Kaufman?
He's a go-go, Dave the Boogieman, 77 WABC.
I love it.
With the Boogieman.
I figured I would start the show with some class.
Yeah, you took it up there a level. That's fantastic. Dave the Boogieman.
Mark, David, thank you for inviting me as a guest.
Thank you for being on.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
And you guys got a great show, and it's an honor and a pleasure and a treat to be part of it.
Cheers. Thank you, my friend.
Well, hopefully you'll feel that way when your segment is done. But I think
thank you again, folks, and have a good one.
Have a good night.
So yes,
funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I've been doing my radio show for 15 years on the 11L network, Radio New York International. And the station is Radio New York International. It started as a pirate ship back in the day in New York Harbor, 1987, 1988.
Wow. Never knew that.
Alan Wiener had a pirate ship out in the harbor. And of course, the FCC said, oh, no, you can't do this crap here. And they took them off the air, and then it became an internet station, and it's on shortwave on WBCQ. And I've been doing this for 15 years, and I love it. It. It's so much fun finally doing radio, something I wanted to do when I was a kid.
And you've had a lot of great guests on over the years. Obviously I was on. So
right.
and
was on too. So yeah, the two
and a few Pop Detective Records artists. It was always a lot of fun spending time with you up there, David. So thanks for that. You do a great job, and we appreciate it. Of course, everywhere I've seen you with IPO stuff. Always a good time hanging out with you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Radio was in my blood growing up with WABC, WMCA, all the good guys, all the ABC people. I wanted to do radio. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Kingsborough Community College, I went down to the radio station. Back in the day, they had albums then. And I brought a cassette of what I wanted to do. And I tried to present it to them. And they said, did your high school have a radio station? I said, no. But I'd like to get on the air. Here's my demo tape. Here's my voice. And they wouldn't let me on the air. They said, you can clean the trailers, but you can't go on the air. And I was devastated. And I was absolutely devastated. But I said, college is where you gain experience for life. How do I do this? Well, you should have had it in your high school station. And I just kind of threw my hands in the air. And then back in 1985, I'm flipping through the FM dial, looking for WBGO or some jazz station at the beginning of the dial. And I tune into Radio New York International. And I get on and I hear these people, fuck this, fuck. And I'm saying, wait a minute, this can't be a real station. And they're giving out phone numbers and they're taking requests. And you can call into the station. And the FCC is obviously blind about this. And I call in and I become friendly and I use different voices, and I call in 2 or 3 times a show, and they finally realize that I'm not going to bust them, and they let me go down and see the show. And 15 years ago, John Lightning says, you want to go on the air? I say, yeah, and puts me on the air. He makes great jingles from the fine folks at Pam's Jingles. as you heard at the beginning. And
Right,
I've been doing it for 15 years, and I'm addicted, just like you guys are addicted to this. You know, it's something that's in your soul. You
And
know?
how much easier is it these days with digital CDs and digital files than it was back in the days when you had to put the needle to the vinyl?
Well, it's great. It's great. You didn't have to queue stuff up. Once in a while, I'll play an album, but I'll pre-record that, and I'll play the whole side of the album. Do you remember radio stations, the FM stations? Here's the new side of the new whatever album, Billy Joel, and then play the whole side.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and wow, that's cool. And you know, radio was listening to live concerts, at least in New York City, on WNEW FM and WLIR in Long Island. And what I do with my radio show is I have folks come to my studio and they plug in and they do half-hour sets live. I don't have to trek to Manhattan. All I have to do is buy them beer and pizza, and they're happy and I'm happy. And I had great recordings of a lot of these artists playing at my station.
Indeed.
And that's the cool part of radio. That's the cool part of radio.
I have a funny, well, funny to me anyway. Hey, whoever's saying that. Funny WNEW/WABC story. At least I thought it was. You know, when I back in the late 70s, when I started getting into underground FM radio, as it were, and I started getting into WNEW, I viewed the DJs on that station as being people who had musical integrity. I mean, they played what they wanted. They didn't adhere to a playlist. They wouldn't do that. That's probably to you. And I used to tell my AM radio type friends, I mean, I would put down the DJs on WABC, or they're only doing it for the money. They, they don't really care about what they're playing. They just, they're just there for the paycheck and the glory and all that. And one of my friends, a club DJ named Frank Castellano, or Frankie C, as he called himself, he used to say, "You think that Scott Muni or Vin Scelsa wouldn't be on WABC if they could make it?" He said they're not good enough. There's no way WABC would hire those guys. They don't have the rap. They don't have the pep. Now I know Scott Muni was on WABC early in the '60s, if that's what you were going to say.
Music Madness Day. We've had a few of those. First impressions and first concerts, first records, and so forth.
Oh, is that Muni? Yeah.
You remember about artists standing by as Bruce Springsteen, live line from August of 1975.
Anyway, I just figured I'd throw that in.
Yeah.
Sound bites here.
Frankie said, Vince Scelsa, he would die to be on WABC. Believe me. I said, no fucking way would he. He wouldn't sell out like that. He said, I'm gonna call him. So he called him.
Hey, Tim.
And he asked him, would you be on WABC if you could? And he said, are you kidding? Hell yes, I would. It was like, oh my God, I was so deflated. Yeah, integrity, my ass.
As a kid, I used to go down to the beach at Coney Island, and basically almost every radio station was WABC, and you'd hear all the radio stations playing. And then every once in a while, you'd get a station from WMCA. And they were like the little guys. ABC had the signal that you could hear in Ohio, you could hear in Florida on Sunday nights, and it was the big booming. MCA were the little guys who were great, because you always wanted the little guy to succeed in radio, and it was just fun. It was just a fun time growing up listening to radio and listening to CKLW. I think you spoke about that on your last show.
I did, yeah.
Radio 8 CKLW and WOWO in West Virginia, and all these great stations are listening to a Cincinnati Red game on a Sunday night from Cincinnati. Those were the days. I mean, I guess you guys probably did the same thing. You had the
Yeah.
radio under your pillow, and mom and dad thought you were going to sleep. You were being a good little boy. And meanwhile, you're listening to the radio. You're listening to the
I
Overthrow.
shared my bedroom with the aforementioned Joel, and we would listen to radio late at night. My parents, fortunately, I didn't keep it that loud, and their bedroom wasn't close enough to hear whether or not we were playing the radio. They'd have to be outside our door, so we got away with it most of the time. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned at night several times. For those who don't know, for those who are too young to have experienced this. The air is much thinner at night, and for that reason, your AM radios or your clock radios or whatever could pick up a hell of a lot more stations at that hour. And at night, I was discovering so many amazing stations at that point. You mentioned WoWo. I discovered it. I discovered that at night. CKLW when they did their top 100 of 1974. And I found that there were so many different songs from ABC's top 100, and so that was enlightening. But yeah, it was a great time. AM radio. I mean, in my Scott Muni story, that was just me, coming of age and being a dick. But I loved WABC when I was a kid, and I still have fond memories of it.
Yeah, your parents wouldn't come in the room. Your mom wouldn't do something like,
"Oh, don't do that."
She wouldn't tell you turn off the radio. My mom wouldn't hear it; it'd be under my pillow. So I was able to get away with all this stuff, and it was great.
And as David said, the air is thinner at night, and and the signals bounce. I remember the transistor. I would even have the mono earplug in. And it would come out of the but I had my thumb on the little dial that changed it. And if a song came on that I wasn't into, I would just start moving that dial slightly because it wouldn't take very much of an effort to get to the very next something, then the very next something, and you just kind of went through and through and through and through and through until you're like, oh, landed on something.
Yeah.
Did your transistor radio have a circular dial or one of the lines that moved across?
I think probably
radio.
I'm trying to remember. I think it had the circular. I can't remember anymore. But I just remember I had my thumb on it, and I would just move it ever so slightly, looking for the next station that was playing something.
Well, it's amazing with my clock radio at night. If I turned the dial, because I did have a dial, you could. I mean, every moment you'd hear something because you could pick up everything.
It didn't take much of an effort to get to that 1 millimeter to get to the next station playing something. And
as long as there was static, you knew you were getting into something good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was the fun. That was the fun. And no one listens to the radio. I mean, maybe you might listen to your news station in your car, or maybe you'll listen to the sports talk. But nobody listens to the radio for music. I mean, satellite radio, who cares? I mean, I don't have to pay for radio to listen to their commercials. Come on.
How about with your transistor when you were going through it, and you got to the very end where you couldn't spin anymore, but you didn't realize because it was dark and it was at night, and you're at the end, and you're like, oh shit, it must be at the end. So you start going the other way.
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Great memories. Great memories.
And all those radio stations of our youth used to broadcast live concerts, and everyone would pull out
somebody was going to say
their recorder, and you would get. I mean, particularly myself, I would get all the concerts from my father's place on WLIR, and the Police would be there. And my father's place, my cousin Epi owns my father's place, so I've got the tie-in. That reminds me, David, I want to show you my father's place collection of all these rare concerts that can't be released, I broadcast them, but it can't be released for various reasons and
copyright
infringement. It's
no
one does live radio with music, with live concerts. I do, and it's rare. Can you think of one station that does it on a regular basis? No.
I have no idea which stations even exist anymore.
Artists don't give away their music anymore because you can steal it elsewhere. No need for them to do it live.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. But man,
where did you, Dave? What was your foundation with music? When the Beatles came around, you were probably old enough to be aware of them.
I was when the Beatles came out in '63. I
Well,
was
64 here, I
well,
guess.
I was 11 years old when they were on the
Oh,
MC.
well, and yeah, of course.
So, but I mean, I also listened to a little bit of doo-wop on the radio back in the day. It was fun. It was fun. All the British invasion bands, and then America would fight back. With the Buckinghams and the Beach Boys and the Turtles. And music isn't fun anymore. I find it's too fragmented. I mean, I grew up listening to WPAT in my dad's car, the easy listening sound, where I heard, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett in the mix. And that was kind of my upbringing. Wow, you'd hear Frank Sinatra song and then a Beatles song on WABC. That'll never
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
That'll never happen again. And it's sad because you can't, what's the best word? Music is too fragmented at this time. You have to tune into this station to hear this music, that station, they hear sports, this to do something else. And I remember WKTU, Disco 92 with Paco, 92 minutes of disco straight. And it was great. I played disco every once in a while. I get into that mood, and that's the music of my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
And then after disco, I kind of lost interest, other than power pop, and a lot of blues and a lot of jazz, and it's a niche society.
Look, the landscape has changed, but
yeah,
and there are some disadvantages to that. But one of the advantages is that it does allow for something like IPO to happen without too many people criticizing that we are a niche. And where's the blues? Where's the country music? Where's the heavy metal? They don't mind that it's pop. So there are some advantages, at least.
But David, the problem with IPO, at least from my perspective, is problem. Yeah, there is a problem. You're not bringing the youth in. Basically, everyone there was 55 and above.
Wait a minute. Now that's not quite true.
Basically.
No, 55.
I mean, you didn't have 23-year-olds.
No. It's hard to find. It's hard to find bands who are doing this kind of pop music.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about power pop, but it's hard to find young acts that are doing melodic music anymore. Not that they don't exist, they do. But normally, if they're young, they've already been discovered, and their managers are too tough to deal with.
And the other side of the coin there is, I know my daughters were into, for a few years, younger, I call them boy bands, but they were actually bands of guys that were 18, 19 years old playing two guitars, drum and bass, and they would tour kind of regionally because their dad would drive the van or their mom would be their manager or whatnot. But a lot of those age group type bands, aren't playing those kind of clubs because they don't go out and do that. And their fans who are 15, 16, 17 years old might not even be old enough to get into clubs like that, so they don't play that.
We don't have that many all ages opportunities. We have some, but not a lot.
It's a different environment because I know the places that my daughters would go see, like I don't even know what they're Hollywood Ending and a couple of these other young bands were almost like Disney theme park places, or they didn't go, or they went to, it was an all ages venue where there was no alcohol being served, and so those kind of bands don't play that kind of sort, because they didn't grow up making it from the ground up by hitting the road and playing like bands used to, and just playing
Dave,
all the time.
Anytime you hear of a band like that, of course there's a mixed age audience, and there's a mixed age. There are mixed age bands at IPO Liverpool, but even there, it's hard to find really young bands who are doing this kind of music. As I mentioned last week, I think when we were talking to Malcolm, there were Green Day type bands in the early 2000s, and I think Green Day is very much the epitome of modern power pop. And we used to have lots of bands like that at that time because they were around. They were on the Warped Tour. there were just tons of bands. They were wearing chains in their pants and nose rings and whatever. But they were doing good melodic music, and we had them. Those bands have disappeared. Those tours are gone, and nobody's buying that stuff anyway. So you're not going to find. But Dave is this is not a challenge of any sort. This is Well, it's not a rebuttal. What I want to say is, if you ever come across young bands like that, you let me know. You send them to me. And
many years ago,
get them, I will.
Many years ago, I went to see Paul Collins. First time I saw Paul Collins live at a venue called Maxwell's in Hoboken.
Love it.
And I brought
R.I.P. Yeah.
And I brought my son Andy, who was 19 years old at the time, and we went to see him. At the end of the show, Andy said, "Hey, go up and see Paul. Give him your business card. Tell him about your radio show." And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm too shy. And he pushed me, nudged me. I went up there, gave him the card. I became great friends with Paul Collins. And Paul was so taken back that I brought my son, my 20-year-old son, to see him play. And here is a guy who is in his 60s, and he's bringing his son, or his 50s at the time, and he's bringing his son. And that's what Paul was looking to do, try to mix generations. And it's hard to do. I don't know how to do it, David.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it takes effort. I don't know how you can get it unless you can find those bands.
That's what I'm saying. I know they exist, but look, this is a message to anybody listening. And I may even post this on Facebook also, because I think it's important. If there are bands who are doing this kind of music and they're young, please send, if you know of any, please send me a private message, send me the links to these bands' music. I'll get a hold of them and I'll invite them. I promise you. There's absolutely no bias towards older acts. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that power pop is aging, and I hate to even say the kind of pop music we like, that melodic rock and roll, is aging, along with its audience. So it's hard.
Power pop is like Benny Goodman. It's aging out. And maybe if you can get your artists who have their children who are into music, who are musicians, invite them to bring their kids if they are proficient musicians.
There's a great example of that, actually. When Ronnie D'Addario,
I was going to say that,
played at IPO New York, he had as his backing band his two sons, who eventually became the Lemon Twigs. Mm-hmm. Now, by the time I found out all of this, the Lemon Twigs had been snapped up by a label, and they had management, and we want $1,500. We don't need you. It's like, well, kind of do, but and I hate that attitude. But that's what I have to deal with. I'm sure I'm not doing the best job I can to recruit younger bands. So I'm going to make more of an effort, but I also want people who are out there. If you want younger bands at IPO and you know of them, let me know who they are. I will do my best to get them, because I'm with you. I would love to, if this music has a shot at capturing youth and maintaining its presence. Mm-hmm. I'm all for trying to facilitate that.
Yeah. Well, and indeed, it's international pop overthrow. It's not international power pop overthrow, and pop music spans, a lot of different genres. And but I just, I think one of the problems, and it may just be time, and the pandemic really screwed a lot of things up, is that bands, artists getting out and playing live, or having
There's still a bit of that issue,
having the venues available to be able to play live. I know so many venues in Philadelphia had shut down. Places that bands could come through and play twice in Philly because they played here and they played here 2 nights later. There's just not that much to go around it, and bands aren't out there touring. It's getting better. I'm starting to see more and more of the smaller club venues. But bless you. But that could just be a time thing. We got to get past the pandemic. We got to get past the fear of being in an enclosed place and getting back to it. But,
there's still a little residue
Sure.
there, I'm sure, at clubs. And I'm sure there were some people who still feel uncomfortable coming to shows.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I'm going to take what Dave said to heart.
See, Dave,
try and
what the Boogeyman does. It's great.
try and get some younger bands next year.
Listen, I'll be monitoring you, David. So looking over your shoulder.
No, these aren't just
David. We're
this
counting
isn't
on
an
you.
empty promise. If they're out there and they're gettable, we'll get them.
Good. Glad to hear that.
The Boogeyman, do you partake in Record Store Day coming up Black Friday 2 days from now?
I don't really care about records anymore, only because I've got, I don't know, about 400 albums, and I got a ton of 45s. And if it's going to be that hard to get, I'm not like David Bash. I'm not going to seek them out. It has to seek me out because I've got a radio show and I want to play it. So yeah, I don't really care about Record Store Day. I care for the $2, $3, $1 bins in the record stores. I bought a whole bunch of great stuff traveling around with David in those cheapo bins. That I'm a happy boy. Boy. So listen, I want to wish everyone out there a happy holiday. It's that season again.
Have a happy holiday. Relax and let the music play on Super Radio. Happy holidays.
A special shout goes out to John Lightning for putting together these jingles for me. I've got 1,000 or so of them, and I could just do a radio show with all jingles.
You could just do it all jingle all the time radio hour.
I really should.
It's Dave the Boogieman. Most music.
Anyway, that's all I got. There's so many more. But
did John Lightning name himself after the racing cars? That
I think
Johnny Lightning.
I think
the,
he had no
motorific type cars.
That wasn't, and he's a music geek, and toys are not his thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, maybe he saw the commercial and thought it sounded cool.
Yeah. I've still got some Johnny Lightning cars packed away somewhere. Oh yeah. Johnny Lightning was great. We had the HO tracks or whatever, and then Johnny Lightning started making the HO cars as well.
Oh, nice.
Go faster with the Johnny Lightning breed.
Yeah. It's true. No, it's we'll see. I there's a couple things Record Store Day. I do have vinyl, but I'm with David as well. I love my CDs and things, but there's a couple things coming out, and there's also a new Danny Garcia documentary. What's it called? The Birth of Punk Rock in New York City. Danny Garcia did the Stiv Bators and the Brian Jones. But the Deadbeat Poets are in the documentary, and that DVD is actually coming out on Record Store Day as well. So I'm going to look for the DVD to get my hands on that. But a couple things: the David Bowie, Big Crosby, Little Drummer Boy 45 is coming out. I'd like to have that to put in my jukebox.
Well, you got a jukebox. That's great. I mean, I wish I had a jukebox. That's the best.
You haven't seen my jukebox, Dave?
No, I've not seen it.
There it is.
So is it a nickel or a dime?
I jacked it up to a quarter when David Bash visited, trying to make some money back.
You got to make it $1 if you really want to make some money in this business.
Well, it's an interesting story though, because the guy I got it from, his dad did tile work in Atlantic City for some people. And he said, I really like that jukebox. His father said to this guy. And the guy essentially gave it to him for nothing. But the keys up top that you open up to put all the vinyl in were there, but there was no key for the cash box. And that cash box has not been opened since 1968. And I know it's full of something, because if I put a quarter in, it doesn't fall down and go into the box. It stays right near the top.
You may have lucked out, Mark. There may be some dead mafia guy money in there.
There could be tennis bracelets.
All yours.
There could be rolls of hundreds. I don't know, but I don't want to drill the lock out and pull it, because it ruins the originality of things. So I'm still trying to get somebody who can pick a lock while I videotape it and say, what is the mystery of Al Capone's jukebox?
Could be. Or you could have Jimmy Hoffa buried in your jukebox.
It could be. It could be Hoffa's ashes in my jukebox.
That sounds like a song, Mark. That's a writing assignment. Jimmy Hoffa's Ashes in My Jukebox.
In my jukebox cash box. But that is actually a true story, and the cash box has not been opened, and but it's a higher security lock. It's got 14 pins in it to try to pick instead of like 5 pins on the normal lock. So I need to find somebody. I've tried to pick it. I can't do it. So one day we'll have a special material issues episode of, we opened the cash box. Pandora's box.
Very cool. Nice story. Yeah, I got to go over to your place one of these days. I got a couple
anytime.
of stories. I'll be glad to feed it in.
Anytime, my friend. It's a great jukebox. I have it filled with everything from 1967 to 72 when it would have been in its prime usage. So my daughters love it. My first thing Hannah said was, "That's mine when you die." And I said, "Well, I'm still around, buddy. Don't, I don't care." She goes, "Whatever. I'm just saying."
Whenever it is, right?
Whenever that time comes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Leah saw it today or yesterday for her first time. And she was like, "Oh," and Hannah was like, "Nope, it's mine."
Mark, you should say you're taking it with you. You want to be buried with the jukebox. And
I want to be buried in the cash box.
Next to Jimmy Hoffa. There you go.
You mentioned Al Capone. I remember a funny story. Geraldo Rivera on his show.
Yeah.
I think Danny Bonaduce was one of his guests, and this was in between the Partridge Family and the scandals that he had been in. So he wasn't really doing much of anything at that point. But Geraldo had him on, and that was the episode where they were going to go look into Al Capone's safe or whatever it was. They were going to open the safe for all to see what he had in there, and Bonaduce made some snide comment about, like, my God, I mean, how low can you go, Geraldo? Is that the best you can do? And Geraldo said, oh, no, this was after it was open. That's right. Geraldo said, "I'm surprised you weren't in it."
Well, have you seen Geraldo with his political reporting? He's gone pretty low. So, I mean.
Well, I'm sure he has. I remember when Jerry Springer's show was really serious early on. He was trying to become another Donahue. Either it didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Now, Tim, real quick, the keys that open up the top of the jukebox that you put the vinyl in, they're common because everybody needed replacements. But the key to the cash box was always keyed one time specifically for the owner of the jukebox, because many times that was a bar owner or somebody that had the specific key to only allow him into the jukebox cash box. That's why this key doesn't exist. You can't just get a replacement key for that. Trust me, I've tried. So that's just to answer your question real quickly there.
Anyway, it's just kind of because, Springer's show was really serious early on. And either it wasn't attracting enough viewers, or somebody figured out that he could make a hell of a lot more money by changing the format. And look what it's degraded to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go lower than that. You really can't.
There you go.
Jimmy Hoffa's Ash.
He doesn't want any co-writing credit. You can have it, Andy. It's good. But no,
I think if it's okay with everyone, let's meander into a Stump the Bash now.
Oh, we're gonna play Stump the Bash. Boogieman, are you gonna stick around while we're playing Stump the Bash?
I live here, so I might as well.
You might as well. Well, there it is. That's Stump the Bash, ladies and gentlemen.
Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash. Stump the Bash.
An episode of Stump the Bash. We do have one ready. Everybody knows how we play this. We have the years 1965 to 75. That's an 11-year period. David picks 5 of those years. We start off with a clue. First clue is worth 5 points, all the way down to the 5th clue, which is worth 1 point. If he doesn't get it, he has to get a total of 15 points through 5 years that he picks to not be stumped. We have yet to do it, and we've gotten close a couple times. We made him sweat. But tonight, the chart position is a little bit easier on him, and he's kind of hoping to sweat some of this stuff out a little bit. But It's chart position number 50.
Oh, that's not that easy. I mean,
number
I thought
50.
I actually thought you were going to tell me like number 11 or something.
No. We got to make it a little bit.
No. I mean, I remember asking for that early on, but now it's been like they've all been like that. But okay,
they've all been like that. But here we go. The first year David's going to pick. What will it be, my friend?
Let's go with 1969.
1969, or otherwise
Dave,
known
if you happen
as,
to know the answer, or anyone else, please don't shout it out.
this is also known as the Tic Tac year, 1969. All right, let me find it here. All right. Clue number 1 for 5 points. The principal idea of the song was made famous at the turn of the 20th century in a poem by Rosamond Gerard, the wife of the poet and playwright Edmond Rostand, Cyrano de Bergerac. So the principal idea of the song was made famous at the turn of the 20th century in a poem by Rosamond Gerard.
I think I might have. I mean, I have an idea of the plot, but I'm not sure. All right, so number 50. So obviously a pretty big hit.
It's a pretty difficult one. I mean,
yeah, well, yeah, nothing's coming to me right now. So
all right, we go to clue number 2 for four points. It's not going to help you that much, but it was written by Pat Upton, produced by Sunny Knight, and arranged by Al Capps.
Well, that may help me quite a bit.
Maybe.
Unless I'm barking up the wrong tree, would it be More Today Than Yesterday by Spiral Staircase?
4 points for David Bash, right out of the gate. Thank you, David.
You know what?
The Boogieman's going to provide the sound effects for us.
A few weeks ago, I had a premonition that you were going to mention something about Pat Upton.
Really?
And I've known for years that he wrote that song and that he sang it.
Gosh,
and he still does, I believe.
I never know what clues are really going to help him out, but
no, I mean that's something I've known for a while. Fortunately,
yeah, there we go. They're starting to chime in already with, "Wow!" I
not
agree
written
with
by Kate Upton, Justin Verlander's wife. Who's
well,
way
David,
overrated, by the way. Looks
right out of the gates, 4 points. You only need 11 points not to be stumped. That was 1969. Where are we going to next?
I forgot what we did last week.
Do
you happen to have the ones we did last week so I don't choose any of them?
Well, I love you more today than yesterday. I think I'm looking for the last time we did it. I don't have
it.
It
was last
here.
week with Malcolm.
Oh, was it with Malcolm?
Yeah. Well, you didn't play it. But...
No, I don't have it in front of me.
All right.
Oh, well.
I know we did 75, and I think we did 71.
Yeah.
So let's go with 72.
1972, chart position number 50. All right. Let me just read through. I haven't read these clues a little bit since I've done it, but the song was warmly received by music critics. Georgy Starostin thought that it was the best track on the band's quintessential album. He called it a solid, riffy tune whose main attractions are the gruff, almost war march style bass line, and praised the keyboard work. Wow.
So I guess I don't get to find out what album it was.
No, it's the band's quintessential album.
Okay.
And this reviewer called it a solid, riffy tune whose main attractions are the gruff, almost war march style bass line, and praised the keyboard work.
Well, I have an idea of what it might be, but let me think. Yeah, he calls it a gruff bass line, huh?
A war march style bass line.
A war march style.
The gruff, almost war march style bass line.
I don't know that I call it gruff if it's a song I'm thinking of. And I don't know that there's...
What year?
1972.
And I don't know that there's mass agreement that this is this band's quintessential album, although there's certainly people who feel that way. I might have See, right now I have that song in my head, and I can't get out of that headspace. So I'm hoping it's right. Would it be Roundabout by Yes?
No. Let's go on to clue number 2.
Actually, that album Fragile may have been released near the end of 71.
That was my guess. Oh, wow.
Was it your guess?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So both barking up the right tree.
We were
but,
both wrong, to quote David.
Yeah.
All right. Clue number 2 for 4 points. The Hammond B3 solo on the track was cited by Rick Wakeman as the greatest organ solo ever.
I think I know what it is now.
Of course, you got to know it now.
Well, it's Hold Your Head Up by Argent.
There you go. 4 points. Hold Your Head Up by Argent.
Yeah. Well, those were the two.
More cowbell.
So that album is, I didn't think Argent had any quintessential albums. And to be honest, I would pick their debut album as their best one because it has more zombies-like tunes on it. But, what are you going to do?
Well, you're already in a comfortable position with 8 points. Only need 7 more to go with 3 more years. So you're sitting pretty right now, my friend.
All right, well, then I'll choose a difficult one, or what might be difficult. I don't think I think we did 66 last week. Yeah. So I'll go with 65. I'll challenge myself.
Going with 1965, the first year that we play this game with. Chart position number 50. All right. Composed by Larry Banks and Milton Bennett, and first recorded by Bessie Banks and released as a single in 1964. I think he knows it too.
I believe that would be Go Now by the Moody Blues.
Go Nad by the Moody Blues. 5 points.
That's probably too easy a clue for 5, but I'll take it.
Well, I'm looking at the rest of the clues, and they're all pretty much. I mean, wasn't much more.
I know there's some where it's more difficult to find clues because
you should play this game. Certainly. You should play this game with the temperature more often. Yeah, Dave knew it because he was ringing the cowbell before I even said the answer, so he knew it. Well, David, you're at 13 points. You can cruise with 1 point on the next 2 years and still not be stumped again. So where are we going to go?
Where are we going to go? Let's go with 74.
1974. Here we go. Chart position number 50 in 1974. This was a ballad written by Albert Hammond and Mike Hazelwood. Initially recorded by Albert Hammond on his 1972 album.
It's The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies.
And the game is essentially over. Wow.
Dave, did you know that one?
I knew it, but I wasn't 100% sure.
So the Albert Hammond did it for you.
Yeah, I knew he wrote that. I knew he wrote it.
I knew I shouldn't have said that, but
I mean, no offense to Mr. Hammond, but it ain't the Hollies. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He'd probably agree.
Well, 18 points. We have not stumped the bash, but right now it's just a matter of how many points can you gather for the evening. So give us your final year, my friend.
Let's go with 1970 and watch me bomb because it's my favorite.
This is your favorite year. Now, if we do eventually play this new game I've concocted called Who Charted, it's all about 1969 and 1970. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
The reason we didn't go with it today, Dave, is because we want to get a few more people on. We want maybe at least 2 other people, so it could be like Jeff. How will it work? Will we just do separate questions, or
no? We'll have the clue, and we'll and if you don't know it in the clue, if you know it in the clue, you can go like this real quick, and I'll call on the person who put their hand up. If you get it wrong, you're minus a point. Then everybody else gets to play, and then you hear the 4-second clip of the song, and then first person to
good enough.
And then it'll that's how the points will go through 25 questions. I got 25.
We really should do this. This would be fun.
All right, 1970. Chart position number 50. We have not stumped the bash, but this is just to see how many points he ends up with. All right, this song was written by Rosemarie McCoy and Luther Dixon. It was first recorded by Al Hibbler in 1958.
Oh, wait, how is this hit? This is 1970. I know we had a big hit, and I thought it was a different title, but it's not. Under the same title?
It's under the same title. It's first recorded by Al Hibbler in 1958.
Oh God, all the '50s people out there are gonna lambaste me.
Al Hibbler, he fronted a big band for a while. That I know, but I don't know the hit.
But let me think of what. Read the whole clue again. I'm sorry.
It's a song written by Rosemary McCoy and Luther Dixon. First recorded by Al Hibbler in 1958.
And it was a hit in 1970 as well.
70. If you get this one, like I wasn't that familiar with this song and or the artist that did it. So
well, it's number 50. I'm sure I know it well, but
so some of these songs I have to go.
What Al Hibbler's hit was, and I have known it, but what the hell?
Sometimes I have to go listen to these things online and go, okay.
Oh, right. Maybe it wasn't his hit, but let me think of what. Let me see if I can think of something that was probably a cover.
Was it an instrumental, Mark?
No, he can't tell me that.
I can't tell you that, but
not yet. Maybe. I mean, he might tell me later. Okay.
We try to keep David under 20 points. It keeps him humble.
I'm already humbled by not knowing this. Well, of course, this may not have been Al Hibbler's big hit. He may have just recorded it, so I might not ever have known that. But I'm just trying to scan my mind here. No. Oh. No. Al Hibbler. No, that wasn't big enough anyway. I know it's not that.
Year end number 50.
Right. Yeah, it's just not coming to me.
All right. Let's go to clue number 2 for 4 points. Released as a single in 1970 on Warner Brothers, taken from their 1969 album In the Jungle, Babe.
Oh my God. I don't know that album either.
So the album was released in 69, but the single was released in 70.
Wow.
Warner Brothers.
Well, Warner Brothers
album In the Jungle, Babe.
Holy crap. I never even heard of that. Not that
I really wasn't that familiar until I went and searched out and played it, and then I remember hearing it. But
my guess is this may be something that's not generally rock. Maybe it's more in a different arena.
It's trying to crack 20 points, Boogieman.
I am.
Dave the Boogieman has even put the cowbell down. He's not even confident about.
I can't believe it. I get 4, 5, 5, and 4, and in my favorite year, I'm not going to get 4 because it's not coming to me.
Boogieman, do you have something that goes wah 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 wah?
Yeah, come on.
The best I can do is.
Hold on. Okay, I like that. I'll keep that handy.
Not getting 4 is no.
We may have to have Boogieman on more episodes just to provide the sound effects.
Hey, I'm.
Well, that's what old 60s and 50s radio was. With cowbells and whistles and bells and.
I just like the fact that you're taking away his concentration.
Yeah, that works.
Let me try to think Warner Brothers now. I've got a few.
Warner Brothers. That was like the Tex Avery soundtrack, and
I've got a few bands that were, or a few artists that were on Warner Brothers from 1970.
Don't forget that it came from their album In the Jungle, babe.
I know, and it's not. I don't know that album, and we'll see if I should have known it. All right, I'm not getting it.
All right, well, you can still break 20 points with clue number 3 for 3 points. Lead vocals on The Cut were performed by the band's drummer James Gadson, who would later become an in-demand session drummer.
Of course, it's not a drummer I've heard of. Damn. No, that's not going to help me.
I don't think many of these clues are going to help you. These are all tough. This is a tough.
I hope the 1-pointer is not tough.
They're all tough. This is
my favorite year. Almost always lets me down,
I
let it down.
Are you going down to clue number 4 for 2
I'm
points
gonna
to still
have
make
to.
20? Okay.
I don't know who James Gadsden is.
This track was later covered by Tower of Power on their Great American Soul Book LP released in 2009.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that's what I meant. It's
Yeah.
It's jazz. It's obviously not rock.
Yeah. It's nothing. Yeah. It's not up your alley normally.
Shit.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Clue number 5 is not going to be any easier.
Well, I thought it's supposed to be.
There wasn't much. There wasn't much. You just happened to randomly pick the bad year. I'm sorry.
Well,
you still win. You're still not stumped. I mean, we still didn't stump you. This is just a tough question.
I don't think that was the name of their album, but I'm gonna just take a wild stab at this. Love in the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band.
Well, I did. You went sketchy on me. What'd you say?
I really went blank on that.
No, I didn't.
Joke?
No, you froze right as you said who it was.
All right. I'm just gonna guess Loveland by Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band.
I have to give it to you.
What?
You got it.
I mean, you have to give it to me. That makes it sound like I was close.
No, you were absolutely right. I just had to give it to you. Charles Wright and the 103rd Street Rhythm Band
and
with
Watts 103rd.
Yeah, Watts 103rd Street.
My state.
Loveland. My friends, you ended up with 20 points.
Okay.
Big time.
Complain averaging 4.
We did not stump the bag.
That was easily the toughest one for me.
That was the toughest one for tonight.
I'm not a big songwriter guy, but occasionally I know. And but
for not feeling well and being a little bit worried about it, you killed it. You came right out of the gate with 4, 4, 5, 5, and then a 2 to get 20 points on Stump the Bash here on episode number 79 of Material Issues. We tried hard with Dave the Boogieman.
So David, here's the final question. Do you want to keep your winnings, or will you trade it for what's behind the curtain? That lovely Carol Merrill is standing.
Trade it for Carol Merrill.
You're gonna give her one of those mints of yours? Don't do that now. Oh, don't do that.
I wouldn't have
hold on. Do I have that voice here? Wait.
Oh my.
You know what? You shouldn't do that.
Oh, don't do that.
Give me a Dan Ingram jingle. We need
that. Even Tim Allen was impressed with that last one.
I mean, that was tough.
But hey, come on. It was a great Stump the Bash again here on episode 79, and we did not stump the bash. But I'm telling you what, stay tuned here on Material Issues. Join us, subscribe to us, listen to us on our podcast, because we got a new version called Who Charted coming up, which is going to be much more difficult, much more interesting. It's going to be one basic clue, chart position and little something, and 4-second little clip. And then we're going to have multiple players. And then
that doesn't preclude a future Stump the Bashes, though.
No. That's just something new and different.
Let's try it, yeah.
I've got one thing for you. Hold on.
More music on Radio, wonderful
Mr. Boogieman.
That was Dan Ingram.
Yes, I know.
Dan Ingram.
So John Lightning just did a little splicing there?
Indeed. He's the best.
Well, Boogieman, thank you for joining us on episode number 79 of Material Issues. We appreciate
we should do this again.
Yeah, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Best wishes, my friend, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Not that he'd be particularly interested in this, but maybe he would. A funny Charles Wright story. Yes, I have one, and it's more a reflection of like how knowledge was measured among kids in, let's say, junior high or high school. The cooler you were, by default, the smarter you were. Get this. So we're at summer camp, and it's right near the end of summer camp, 1970. And Express Yourself by Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band had just entered the charts. So it's being played on the radio. We have a radio at camp, and one of my friends at the time said, "That's James Brown, right?" And I said, "I don't know who it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not James Brown. I've heard the name before, but I can't remember it, but it's not James Brown." He said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is." I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure it's not." So suddenly he calls over the coolest kid in our group, in our camp group. And he says, "You know that song, Express Yourself?" "Yeah." "Isn't that James Brown?" "Oh, definitely." "See," and of course they both say, "See," as if, if the cool kid ratifies it, then of course it's right. You don't have to question anything else. That's just how it was.
Of course, yeah.
I never did get my comeuppance for that. But, oh,
You
well.
did now. You did now. Here, material issues.
If either of you are listening and you happen to remember that from 52 years ago, you may have been cool, but I was right.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, make sure you join us here. You subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. 30 episodes are up on the podcast. I'm busy trying to get them all edited and up there for future. But it's been another great episode. Thank you again, Boogieman, for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, definitely. Dave's going to have some family over tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have a great time with the family. Say hi to Andy.
You. And David, get yourself up to Canada, get your health in order, and catch that flight at high noon tomorrow.
As long as this COVID test I'm going to take doesn't turn out to be positive, you bet.
All right, Mr. Boogieman, we'll say goodnight to you. David and I are going to wrap it up. Thank you again, my friend. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay grateful. We will talk to you
Not like soon. I won't see you in about whenever this ends, 5 seconds.
If Mark Hershberger comes out of my bathroom, then there's a problem going on.
It's all over.
Good night, all. Bye.
See you, David. Well, David Bash, that was another great episode, number 79. We always have a good time, and I know Bergen White was scheduled tonight, couldn't be here, but he has rescheduled for December 14th. Correct?
Before we get into our upcoming guests, so Tim Allen. The rest of the ones I got weren't impressive. I don't know that that's what you were implying. Oh, I got this clue again. Tim, if you're still listening, come on. I know they weren't as tough, but it doesn't mean that the whole world knew them. Loveland is a tough one. And not only that, but it was a song I never heard at the time.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. All right, so we've got some really cool guests coming up.
We do.
I'll announce the first one, and Mark will announce the second one. As I think I mentioned this last week, but next week on November 30th, we will have none other than the great Brendan Benson as our guest on Material Issues. Brendan has a new album coming out. I think December 2nd is the release date. So this is a very timely appearance. We don't know how long he's going to be on. Hey, you got them though. What was I going to say? Yeah, we don't know how long he's going to be on. He generally only likes doing short interviews, but who knows? Maybe he'll have fun with us and we'll have him on for most of the hour. We don't know, but whatever it is, we're very grateful to have him, and we look forward to it. Yeah. But on the 7th, we have a nice surprise, very timely surprise as well.
Very, very cool. And evidently, this guy hasn't done an interview in quite a while. He's had some health issues, but he will be joining us via audio only. He doesn't have the video capability, but we will have him live on the phone and talk to him. He had a number 8 charted hit in 1980. It blew me away.
I know it.
You know this one? What would it be, David? It came from his album, The Son of Rock and Roll, because he is the son of Johnny Burnett of the Johnny Burnett Rock and Roll Trio. His big hit, Tired of Towing the Line. Rocky Burnett will be here on Material Issues December 7th.
Dave just rang his bell.
Dave just rang the bell. We can't hear him down there, but Rocky Burnett's going to be here. He's excited to talk about it because his album, The Son of Rock and Roll, has just been reissued by Iconoclastic Records. and he's having a lot of things worked on and reissued right now. So we're excited to talk to him. Yeah.
That's great. That song just came out of nowhere, I remember,
Yep.
because nobody was doing anything like that in 1980. I just remember thinking, wow, this is such a cool song. I actually did get to meet Rocky briefly, and this ties in with one of our other guests. When Dwight Twilley was finishing mixing his album, and I think it was Lucky One, maybe. It was at Richie Potter's studio, and Richie Potter produced Three Dog Night among a lot of other people. So my lawyer friend Ben McLean invited me along. We were going to hear the finished version for the first time, and also there was Rocky Burnett, and I spoke to him a little bit, and he couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
I don't remember the conversation well. It was like 25 years ago, but or so. But he was very gracious and very. I'm sure I complimented him on the song and album. But
his cousin's Billy Burnett, who played in Fleetwood Mac, and he's got Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood stories, working with Moon Martin stories on his follow-up album to Son of Rock and Roll, which I just got in the mail. Heartstopper. It's on this label called The Goods.
Oh wow! Is that a U.S. or Australian pressing?
This is a U.S. pressing.
Why I ask is because Rocky Burnett, for whatever reason, was huge in Australia.
Yeah.
Before he was here. I mean, the album actually came out initially in Australia without Tired of Towing the Line.
Yeah.
And the U.S. added it when they issued it. So I might still have an original pressing without the hit. I don't know.
And what's amazing is he had a number 8 hit with Tired of Towing the Line, but because of a lot of things which he'll explain happened, his follow-up album comes out on something called The Goods Records and completely sank without a trace. And I'll tell you what, it's a fantastic album. It's
why indeed was he dropped from EMI is got to be a mystery. Usually if you have a top 10 hit, they're going to give you another album.
Yeah. Well, he's going to tell us all about that December 7th. So make sure you stick around and subscribe to us, because it'll be a good one. We've got Brendan Benson next week, followed by Rocky Burnett, and
then Bergen White has been scheduled for the 14th. It doesn't seem. I'm pretty sure he's going to keep this one. So he's a busy guy. Yeah. He actually inducted Ray Stevens in the yesterday. I guess he inducted Ray Stevens into the Musicians Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
In Nashville, I believe. That's where Bergen lives. And
that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. No, he's a very well-respected songwriter in the business. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, so we look forward to all of that and much more as Material Issues continues. We'll have episode number 80 next week. Wow,
number 80. That's crazy to think about. I remember when we did like number 20, we were both going, "Holy cow, 20 episodes!"
I know. Well, but as you mentioned earlier, I'm very thankful for the show, for your friendship. It's been a lot of fun, and also a great diversion in the middle of preparing for IPOs and it's one of those other plans that happens. Or
you're busy making other plans. How'd that go? I forget.
It's one of those lives that happens when you're busy making other plans or something.
Yeah, something like that. That's good. Well, we hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Whether you're with or without family, just be grateful for the little things and be grateful that we all get up for another day. And if you're ever feeling down, just join us every Wednesday here on Material Issues. We're bound to say something goofy and make you laugh. So.
Goofy and roofy.
And roofy.
Hopefully no women were offended by that story, but it shouldn't have been, because like I said, it was just a tic-tac, ladies.
It's just a tic-tac.
No roofies for this guy. No.
David, have a safe trip. Best wishes with IPO Hamilton. Hamilton, Ontario coming up.
Say hi to Jamie Vernon for you.
Yes, please do. Please do. My good friend Jamie and his wife Sharon, and they'll be there. So have a great one, everybody. Enjoy, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.